Hi, my name's Paul Grogan and welcome to the second in a series of gaming rules videos for Oathsworn Into the Deepwood, a 1 to 4 player cooperative campaign-driven fantasy game. In the first video, I explained how to create a character and an overview of the structure of the campaign, and how each chapter was divided into 2 parts. In this video, I'm going to be covering the first part of each chapter, the story. And remember, everything you see here is a prototype and subject to change. Check out the Kickstarter campaign for the latest information. After completing the setup as shown here, open the storybook and go to your current chapter. Or alternatively, launch the companion app. You will be given some additional setup instructions for the chapter, including where to place your free company marker, and you use one of the character models for this. What follows next is a narrative-driven series of events based on the locations that you choose to visit. You can only visit a location in the city if there is a location token on the space, and you will be told to add more location tokens based on how the story evolves. When you move to a new location, you take the token and place it on the time track. If you are using the storybook, flip the token over and turn to the section in the storybook corresponding to the numbers on the back of the token, depending on which path you are on, which you will be told at the start of the story. If you are using the app, you don't need to worry about the paths, as the app will do all of this for you. Each chapter has its own time track. Moving to a new location adds a token to the track, and certain other things that can happen in the story might add other tokens to it as well. Tokens are placed on the track in order, and notice that some of the spaces have icons on them. This icon represents an immediate effect, something that you must do immediately when the token is placed on this space. This icon represents an end of story effect. If this icon is still visible at the end of the story part of the chapter, you do whatever the effect is. And this icon represents an end of encounter effect. This works in a similar way to the previous one, but only if this icon is still visible at the end of the encounter. These last 2 icons essentially mean that if you are more efficient with your time spent in the city, you will receive additional bonuses at the end of the story or the encounter. This immediate effect tells you to draw a city event. At the start of the campaign, the city event deck is made up of 6 cards which are shuffled. You will draw one of them and resolve it. Many of them give you a choice, and you then flip the card over to see the result of your actions. More cards will be added into the event deck as the campaign progresses, depending on the choices you make. As you travel around the locations within the city, the story will unfold. Often you will be given choices, not just on where to travel to, but what you do when you are there. Clue tokens are used to represent the free company discovering important information that will help you unravel a mystery. You may also suffer damage, and when you do this, record your hit point loss by rotating your HP die down. This will mean that you start the encounter slightly wounded. At various points in the story, you may gain 1 or more combat tokens. These are normally used during the encounter part of the chapter, but some of them are useful during the story part. You may also have the opportunity to gain a permanent token. This is recorded on your character card and means that you will start each chapter with one of these tokens. The free company starts with some starting allies, 4 men-at-arms. However, more can be gained during the campaign, and when instructed to gain a new ally, you look through the deck for the appropriate one and then add it to the others. Sometimes during the story, the free company will be told to perform a check of some type. Each check will have a type, such as a spot check, a survival check, or a bartering check, and every check is resolved in the same way, but there may be modifiers to checks based on their type. To perform a check, you choose as many white dice as you wish and roll them all together. If the total rolled on the dice is equal to or higher than the difficulty of the check, it was successful. So why not just roll all the dice? Well, if you roll 2 or more blanks, the check was a failure. So this is a decision that you need to make before you roll. The more dice you roll, the more numbers you'll roll, but the chance of it automatically failing increases. If any of the dice show a critical, you may roll another dice of the same colour and add any value rolled to your score. Any blanks rolled when rolling extra dice from criticals are ignored. If you roll another crit symbol with the extra dice, repeat the process. Certain tokens can be used during checks. For example, this token can be spent to allow you to re-roll one of your dice. Cities can sometimes be dangerous, and even before the encounter begins, you can end up getting yourselves into a fight. These situations are resolved by performing a single round of combat using the same system as per skill checks mentioned earlier, but one difference being that in addition to rolling any number of white dice, you can also roll as many of your own might dice as you want to. You get might dice according to your might cubes, which are based on the weapons that you have equipped. You then roll all of the dice, and like before, if 2 or more blanks are rolled, the attack misses and has no effect. Otherwise, the attack hits, and the sum of all the numbers on the dice rolled is the damage dealt. If the damage dealt is equal to or greater than the defense value of the enemy, then you survive the combat without losing any hit points. If you miss or don't deal enough damage, you will get some kind of penalty, which is usually losing hit points. Also, in every city, there are 2 locations that you can visit for their services. At the Banksmith, you can buy, sell or trade items, and at the Apothecary, you can buy medicines that will help you should you go unconscious during the encounter. Oathsworn is unique in the way that it not only includes rules for using a card-based system instead of dice, but both options are available to players at any time during the game. There are 4 decks of Oathsworn Might cards, 1 for each colour of dice. During setup, they would have been shuffled and placed nearby. Anytime you roll dice, you can choose instead to draw cards from the deck, 1 card per dice you would roll. So here, instead of rolling 3 white and a yellow dice, I could draw 3 white and a yellow card. The distribution of numbers on the cards is the same as the faces on the dice, with 18 cards in each deck representing 3 dice. However, with dice, if you roll a load of blanks, the chances of you rolling blanks next time is the same, whereas with cards, the good and the bad results even out a lot more. For the rest of this video, and for the next one, I will be talking only about rolling dice, but just remember that any time you're about to roll dice for any reason, you could draw cards instead. Your decisions during the story have branching consequences and will lead to a fundamentally different experience each time you play. Not every location will open up in your first game, for example, and you will meet new characters and reveal new mysteries with each choice. At some point in the story, you will be told to progress to the encounter, the second part of the chapter. But there are different ways the encounter can start, which is again based on the choices that you made. So if you were to play the campaign again at a later date, maybe choose a different route to see where it leads. And that brings us to the end of this video. In the next video, I will cover the encounter, which is where all the action happens as the Free Company fights against a dangerous enemy. For more information about the game, please check out the Kickstarter campaign, which I will link to in the show notes below. And for more of my videos, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, take care and thanks for watching. Gaming Rules is proudly sponsored by Game Toppers, upgrading your gaming experience. Visit GameToppersLLC.com.